Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
You're listening to Track Talk with the RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, or visit them online at McCarthyChevyKC.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's RacinBoys Radio. Joining us now is the senior writer for FoxSports.com, Lee Spencer. Lee, thanks for getting up and joining us early on the show. Appreciate it.
Well, practice started at 8:30, so it's not that early when you think about it.
Well, I guess it's not where you're at. You know, we're back here in the Midwest, so it's a little earlier for us. And, again, we appreciate you taking the time. Always enjoy our conversations with you when you're in Kansas. Let's just start off, Lee, and talk about last week, the end of that race. There's been some people that have been pretty critical of NASCAR for not throwing that caution there at the end. It was an exciting finish. Kyle Busch probably not too happy that he wasn't able to bring home that win. And it seems like, Brad Keselowski and Marcus Ambrose, they were having a good time. But should have NASCAR thrown that yellow, and would that have been more fair to the other teams out there?
I think that they saw the oil on the track, or at least that's what NASCAR claims, is that they never saw any condition that really made them give pause. Of course, you had cars sliding, but, the drivers themselves, a lot of them, they couldn't see it. They said it was like a fine spray on the racetrack. Marcus Ambrose joked yesterday as he went out to qualify that he wished he had a car kind of like James Bond where he could just push a button and spray oil all over the track because at least he could still drive through it. Whether or not that would get over big with the sanctioning body, maybe that's like Bruton Smith style of race promoting, but probably wouldn't go over too big with the guys in the tower.
Well, but with all that being said, though, I said it on a show yesterday on Between the Lines with Kevin Kiesman. I know they couldn't see the oil physically but all you had to do was look at the cars, and you could tell something was going on. And, so many times. It's a competition, so what are you going to do? You're going to drop the yellow after they take the white flag? Had it been a couple laps earlier, sure. I think that they would have been better prepared to handle the situation, but I think that the fact that they had taken the white lap, there wasn't a lot you could do at that point. It just, in the sake of just continuing the race, if you stop the race, what are you going to do? Put down Speedy Dry and then, try to get through it again? It was the same kind of conditions for anybody, and I'm not sitting here and trying to say that NASCAR made the right call or the wrong call. I'm just saying I think they made the best call at the time because there was just one lap to go. I just think that they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. In a situation where they're on the final lap and this is happening. The leaders have already taken the white flag, so I really don't think in this case that they had time to do one thing or another. If there's several laps left, I think maybe they could have done something, but not that late in the going. And what the hell, it was a great finish. It was probably one of the greatest finishes I've ever seen on a road course, and maybe ever. It was really exciting. Them adding another road course to the schedule. I think right now it's the best form of racing that we've had. NASCAR's made changes in the past when they look at the schedule. And if it produces really good racing, and obviously it does, we saw the same thing at Sonoma. The road courses have really become the short tracks. Bristol is going through a transition. We'll see next weekend whether or not the changes that they made to that track, are in its favor. Richmond's still a fabulous track, Martinsville, but right now the biggest bang for the buck is coming on the road courses, and I think that, NASCAR needs to look seriously at adding another road course to the schedule, because at this point in time, you don't have road racing aces that come and steal the show or stink up the show, no matter how you want to look at it. You have drivers who are elite drivers in stock pro racing. They come in and they're at the top of their game. And, you know, a kid like Brad Keselowski, 3 years ago, you wouldn't have given, you know, you wouldn't have put him in the car if you were saying, no, I'm looking for a guy who's a, you know, top road course racer. Why not Brad Keselowski? He wouldn't have even been on your radar list, but look how far he's come just in 2 years from really working and perfecting his craft. And, you know, it's the same thing for the best guys in the business. They rise to the challenge.
Lee Spencer is joining us from FoxSports.com, and I agree with you about adding the road course to the chase, but I would also want just a complete overall mixture of different sizes and shapes of the chase. There's, you know, I think heavily weighted to the 1.5 mile racetracks. Of course, I'm biased. I wouldn't want Kansas Speedway to be knocked out of the chase, but it needs to be a wide variety of different racetracks to give a true picture of a championship driver.
Well, I mean, come on, guys. We all know why Kansas City has 2 races. I mean, you know, it's not because intermediate tracks are fun and sexy. You know, you have a situation where it is a premier track. It's, you know, one of the ISC gems. And so, you know, and now with the casino being built, it becomes more of a destination. And everybody loves going to Kansas City. Kansas City is a fabulous town. You know, it has a great arts district. It has great restaurants. Fans can go there and get cheap hotel rooms without being gouged. I mean, you may get gouged closer to the track, but as big as Kansas City is, it's a great destination for race fans. It's a reasonable race to attend from the standpoint of lodging. But, you know, when it comes down to being just another intermediate track on the schedule, you know, I just have to say ho-hum, because there's just way too many. We have 5 intermediate tracks in the chase. You need to spread that out a little bit more, you know, because it does not provide the most scintillating racing. And, you know, I think a road course would kind of mix things up. There are plenty of people, and I'm sure you guys have heard this over the years, that would love to start the season and end the season at Daytona. Well, yeah, right. Daytona's too much of a crapshoot. Somebody, you know, day can be ended because of somebody else's stupidity in an instant. And, you know, that probably is just a little too risky of a race to put in as your season finale. But, you know, that being said, you know, we all agree there's way too many intermediate tracks, 1.5 mile tracks in the chase. And it would be nice to see some sort of variety more so than we have now.
Hey, while we're on Kansas Speedway, they just are finishing up the repaving project out here. Based on your conversations with people on some of the other repaved jobs, they're going to have a Goodyear tire test coming up here in a couple of weeks. What do you think we're going to see when October rolls around with the newly reconfigured Kansas Speedway?
Well, Goodyear really seems to be on their game with tires, and, you know, they're trying to do as much as they can to get the best tires, you know, the best possible tire to match the surface. So I think that we'll learn a lot more once things are put into place and they have the tire test and, you know, come up with what the control tire is going to be. Everybody agreed. Well, I won't say everybody, because I think there are people like, you know, Carl Edwards who would have just assumed that the track stayed that way. But there are other people who said that something had to be done to the racetrack. And, you know, they made the right decision. It's really hard, and you guys know that from just years of living in the Midwest, where you have such a wide range of temperatures and what that does, you know, to asphalt. So, you know, they made the right decision, but until we really see what Goodyear has planned for that track, I think it's too early to, you know, kind of figure out what the racing's going to look like.
You know, Lee, I've got to talk about the points race and just how it's all fallen together. With racing your way in with wins to get these wild card positions, I think it's been just a great hit when it comes to the points. You're looking at a lot of guys that are on the outside looking in and a few guys that are on the inside that could fall out I don't know if NASCAR could have done a better job with their points program. What do you think?
Well, I'm a big fan of the wild card program. I think you have a situation where it's given a lot of different storylines added to what could just be, the race for the chase. Well, because you have 10 guys that, virtually look locked in. I mean, Hamlin could falter, perhaps. He's had a couple of bad weeks. There might be other guys at the end that struggle and could open the door for Casey Kane or Carl Edwards. But at this point, everybody's pretty much looking at what the wild card implications are, because those two transfer spots could make or break a driver's season. I mean, you have Ryan Newman, who's in a contract year. You have Joey Logano, who's in a contract year. It really gives additional storylines to what we're already looking at. And so I think from, just the standings in general, that's something that has really helped just keep NASCAR, in the front burner, because people are talking about it. People are looking at the implications, where this time of the year might have been, oh my gosh, Jimmy Johnson leading the points again. Tell me something I don't know. It's like, how about the news? And I think the wild card standings has certainly heated things up a bit.
Let me ask you this, Lee. You bring up Jimmy Johnson and what fans say when they see Jimmy Johnson leading the points. Would it be bad for the sport or good for the sport for Jimmy to win another championship? And obviously it would be great for the sport if Dale Earnhardt Jr. could win one. Take us through that, what the psychology of the fans and how they get turned off by a winner. Unlike some sports where winners are praised, in our sport, everybody loves to hate a winner. So what do you think as far as Jimmy?
Because there's 43 drivers out there, and everybody's a fan of a driver. And I think you hit the nail on the head with Dale Earnhardt Jr. By far, that would be the best scenario for NASCAR. That would be the best scenario for all of us, quite frankly, because it would really put NASCAR, back on the map. And they could use a feel-good story like that right about now. Jimmy Johnson, he's a great guy. He hasn't been marketed properly. Whose fault is that? I mean, you could point in a million different directions, but the Jimmy Johnson that we know behind the scenes, I don't, as hard as the media tries, it's really hard to show the fans and the public what that guy's really like.
He's a really cool guy.
Been scrambling to try to reinvent Jimmy Johnson, not that you have to, but just try to make him more out there and available so people get to know him and like him as much as, people on the inside do. But, it's just been a difficult sale. And, the 5 championships, any other team that would have 5 consecutive championships, my gosh, they would be held at such high esteem, and for whatever reason, NASCAR's missed the Jimmy Johnson vote. And, it's unfortunate because, like I said, he's a great guy.
Hey, we've been waiting all season long for Carl Edwards to have a fast race car. Looks like he finally has one this weekend, starting on the outside, the front row tomorrow at Michigan. Does he still have a shot at this?
I've been asked that quite a bit, and it's every week that you want to believe that this is going to be Carl's week, something happens, and you can't say it's the equipment because where his teammates are. You have Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth, second and third in the points. You can't blame it on the equipment. Can you blame it on the letdown of losing the championship last season? Who knows? Only Carl can answer those questions, and, he's kind of beat around the bush at it. I mean, he's giving us the answers he thinks we want to hear. What the true answers are, I mean, who knows? I mean, he'd really have to come out and give an honest depiction. You could have an I-70 Max on Sunday, though, because Clint Boyer's really solid. He's looked really solid this weekend as well. So, could it be Could it be Carl's weekend? Who knows? Jack Roush has always had strong cars at Michigan. It's his hometown track. Michigan is as good a place as any for Carl to get the job done, but he has to win. He has to win now, and he'll likely need a second victory to get into the chase.
Hey, let me ask you this. It brings us back to a question. Matt Kenseth, when he signed his new deal, wherever that's going to be, I think most of us know where that's going to be. Do you think there was – I was a little caught off guard by Jack Roush not knowing that the contract negotiations had made it to that point to where Matt Kenseth was going to leave. Do you think Matt had a little animosity towards maybe the organization about the way Ford comes in and they negotiated Carl's deal and give him a lot of money? And with him being a two-time Daytona 500 winner and a Sprint Cup Series champion, maybe not feeling the love that maybe he felt that he should have gotten?
Oh, absolutely. He's the guy who has a championship. He brought Jack his first Cup championship.
Right.
And he's been the loyal employee for how many years? And he's not even mentioned. I mean, his contract isn't even brought up, where it was all about Carl last year. It was everything about Carl. And you guys know the types of egos that race car drivers have. And, Matt Kenseth just wasn't feeling the love. And, it's unfortunate because when you have a driver, a veteran like Matt Kenseth, who is, just so smooth on the racetrack, and he's so good at feeling things and,
with
knowing what cars need, he's going to be such an asset to Toyota. Ford isn't going to realize what their loss is going to be, especially going into a new season with a brand new car. Matt's feedback would have been invaluable, and it's going to be a loss not only to Roush Fenway Racing, but to Ford as they move forward with this new car.
How big? We've got to get wrapped up here, but I want to ask you your thoughts about Dodge pulling out of the sport. Do we realistically think they're going to come back, or is that a bunch of talk speak and they're just getting that? And is it more about financing? Because, depending on who you hear, Fiat, they don't really get into NASCAR. They really don't want to spend the money. But then you hear, the powers that be at Dodge over here in the States say, oh, we couldn't find an upper echelon team. What is it really?
I think it was a combination of two things. First from the standpoint of there was not a team that was the caliber of race team that would have said, okay, we're going to put all of our apples in this basket. As far as having a team the caliber of Penske Racing, where you're going to put the kind of money, invest the kind of money into a factory-backed team that team is going to carry the banner for Dodge Motorsports. That team this year wasn't available. Richard Petty Motorsports, they're nowhere close to being on the same level as the Penske Racing, and so I think given a situation like that, it was better to take a year off, maybe regroup, and then figure out, what you want to do going forward, because the Petty situation wasn't going to give Dodge a bang for their buck, and quite frankly, the money that they offered Petty wasn't enough to really move forward with anything other than sponsorship, because they were going to have to do their own engines. So I think it put everybody in a really bad situation, and it's just better to give them the time to regroup and come back with a better game plan for 2014.
Lee, thanks so much for taking the time. We'll see you when you roll into Kansas here in a couple months, and love your work on FoxSports.com. Thanks so much.
Take care, guys.
Yep, thank you, Lee. Lee Spencer, senior writer, FoxSports.com. What I like about her, Scott, she says what she on her mind. She follows this sport and has for a number of years and knows what she's talking about.
Not much of a filter on Lee Spencer. No. You want a strong opinion, go check her work out at FoxSports.com. One of the great writers out there, and always enjoy her work. All right, what do we do next, Kirk? Where do we go next?
We're just going to open up the phone calls. We're going to have Brian Brown on in the second hour, and we're also going to talk with Dennis Schrout, the owner of Valley Speedway. That's exclusively on RacinBoys.com. So we'll open up the phone lines, 913-381-0810. Hey, before we go to break, I want to mention that you can enter the Kansas Lottery big weekend at Kansas Speedway. All you have to do is be the 8th caller at 913-381-0810, and you'll win a prize pack that's celebrating 25 years of real people winning NASCAR instant scratch tickets. And what you win is a chance to get into the drawing for the VIP trip to Kansas Speedway. That drawing is on September the 7th, and that's all courtesy of the Kansas Lottery. 8th caller, 913-381-0810. 810. We're coming back with your phone calls. Next, you're with the Racing Boys here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.